Major League Baseball's plans for the next 5 years include several international stops, regular season games in London, Paris, Tokyo, Mexico City, and San Juan, postseason exhibition games in Taipei and Seoul, possibly a regular season game in one of those two cities, spring training games in Santo Domingo. Naturally, you've got to wonder where else they could hold an international series. There are a few more options for regular season series, and a lot more possibilities for exhibition games. All the right conditions have to be present to hold a regular season Major League series. Everything has to be up to Major League standards, so staging the event can be very expensive. You need a proper stadium that meets the right specifications and is equipped with everything necessary. The country's got to have enough people already interested in baseball that'll show up, and the income level's got to be high enough for people to afford it. Holding an exhibition series is much easier. The ballpark doesn't have to be perfect, just in reasonably good condition so it doesn't result in injuries. Cost of tickets should be reasonable so that the average person there can afford to attend. The only requirement really is that there is some interest in baseball already there. We're talking about bringing two major league teams in uniform. It doesn't do any good if those uniforms and the star players are completely unrecognizable to the local population. If a country has almost nothing going on as far as baseball is concerned, the best thing to do is send a few players out there, hold clinics, get some more of the youth playing. When they've got thousands of people familiar with the sport, then it's time for an exhibition series. Holding an exhibition series is a great way to get people interested in the game, seeing professionals from the highest level of baseball in the world playing on their home soil. MLB has a history of doing this. In the first half of the 20th century, they played all around the world, trying to spread the game. You might try to argue that it didn't work. In a lot of those countries they played in, baseball doesn't have too many fans or players today. But it actually did work, for a while anyway. Prior to World War II, baseball was being played in front of crowds in the thousands, in a lot of countries where that's not seen today. The war brought the game to a halt in most places. In some places, that was the end for baseball. In other places, it started up again, but TV killed its momentum. There were only a few TV channels in each country back then, so they could only televise the country's top sports. So instead of sports fans going out to the nearest ball field to see whatever sport was being played, they stayed at home and watched their favorite sport on TV. Baseball and several other sports lost a lot of fans around the world at that time. Nowadays, we not only have hundreds of channels, we've also got the internet, so our options for watching sports are unlimited. If it's appealing to us, we can find a way to watch it. But it's going to be a lot more appealing if you can see it live, right in front of your face, rather than on a screen. So today I'd like to talk about 15 countries that could hold spring training games before the season, or an exhibition series after the season, and a few that could even be considered for hosting regular season Major League games. Not any places they're already planning to go in the next 5 years. Most of these countries would be hosting Major League games for the first time. And by the way, thank you to William Otani for the idea in the comments. I think you just meant it as a question, not a video suggestion, but it sparked the idea for this video, so thanks. The one I'll start with is one I'd really like to see happen soon, a series in Nicaragua, Panama, and Colombia. This could be all done as one series where the same two teams play one game in each country. They are very close to each other. Or it could be 3 different series, 6 different teams. Either way, I think it would be an excellent idea. This could happen in early November after the World Series and just before the Winter Leagues in those 3 countries begin. Or they could do it in March for spring training, after the Winter Leagues have ended. There's definitely enough interest there. Baseball is #1 in Nicaragua and Panama, one of the top sports in Colombia too. As long as they keep the cost down, they'll have no problem filling the stands. Stadiums are definitely not an issue. Nicaragua's got Dennis Martinez Stadium. Panama's got the 27,000-seat Rod Carew Stadium. Colombia's got Edgar Renteria Stadium. Those 3 ballparks are the signature stadiums in each country, graced by the name of their most treasured players. And best of all, those guys are all still alive. What better way to honor them than to bring a couple major league teams to their home countries, maybe one of the teams they used to play for. For Nicaragua and Colombia, this would be their first time hosting Major League games. Panama hosted 2 spring training games in 2014 between the Yankees and Marlins, so it wouldn't be their first time, but it'd be great if they could do it again together with a couple neighboring countries. That's it for the Caribbean region. MLB's already got plans to play in Mexico, Dominican Republic, and Puerto Rico. Cuba hosted a Major League series not too long ago. Could do it again one of these years, just not right now, for reasons totally unrelated to baseball. Same thing with Venezuela. Further into South America, Brazil and Argentina, 2 countries where baseball has never really done well, but it's started to pick up lately. It's been growing in Brazil for over a decade. They've produced a few Major League players. MLB has been running an academy there. They've qualified for the World Baseball Classic. Argentina is more recent. They've started running a well-organized league just in the last few years. This year, they competed in their first WBC qualifier, where they picked up 2 wins and lost by just 1 run to Nicaragua, a team that qualified. Both countries are best known for soccer, but sports in general do pretty well there. You've already got people playing the sport. Bring a couple teams there, preferably one with a Brazilian player, and let them see the pros in action. All of MLB's efforts in Brazil so far have been put toward producing players for the Major League system, not to build it up as a spectator sport. Maybe they only think about the world's richest countries when it comes to ticket sales and TV contracts, but they should really consider sending a couple teams down there one of these years. Across the Atlantic, Africa is not at the front of most MLB executives' minds. It's far away, not a lot of money to be made there, not a factory for major league talent. It's the furthest behind in baseball out of the 6 continents, but it doesn't always have to be like that. South Africa would naturally be their first choice. They've got an amateur league there. 2 South Africans have made it to MLB in the last 5 years. Taylor Scott, a South African pitcher, is still there, part of the Phillies organization, so they'd be sure to bring that team, or whatever team he's playing with at the time. It's a good sports country, just like Brazil and Argentina. If you bring them a good professional product, people will show up. You can see a lot of similarities between Australia and South Africa. 2 Commonwealth countries, been playing baseball for over a century. Prefer rugby and cricket, but have an open mind towards baseball. And we've seen that Australia can host a Major League season opener, operate a professional league, and regularly produce Major League talent, even if baseball isn't a top spectator sport there. South Africa could follow the same path, though they're a couple decades behind right now. They might have to build onto an existing field or convert an existing stadium for baseball use before making the trip out there, so it would take a little preparation. They wouldn't be able to walk in and just start playing. They also might want to promote the event more than they normally would for an exhibition series. Starting to sound a little troublesome now, but that's what it'll take for MLB to get a foot onto the continent. If MLB wants to turn a lot more heads with their first series on African soil, there's another option, one that might seem risky but would no doubt be an historic trip. That is a 2-game exhibition series in Tanzania and Uganda. Both countries have proper baseball fields, and I wouldn't bother trying to build them up to semi-advanced stadiums and selling tickets. Just play there for free and see how many people you can get to show up and watch the teams play. They wouldn't make any money from this trip, but the attention they'd get would be worth it. One of the teams would have to be the Dodgers. This is important in both countries. Uganda is the number 2 baseball country in Africa and home to a Dodgers academy. There are 2 young athletes and 1 coach training in the Dodgers system since earlier this year. The 2 athletes should start competing in the lower levels next year. Make sure those 2 are on the team so the people of Uganda can see that it's possible to train for baseball in Uganda and one day play for the Dodgers. And thanks to uniform donations from the team, it's already a recognizable brand. Tanzania would be an even bigger one. One man that would certainly like to see it happen is David Robinson. Not the basketball player, the son of Jackie Robinson, who's been living in Tanzania since the 80s. He's a coffee farmer and exporter there. It seemed for a long time that he didn't want anything to do with baseball. But in recent years, as baseball has caught on a little with young athletes there, he's made some appearances to show his support. With all that MLB has done to try and honor Jackie Robinson's legacy, imagine if they were to have a series involving the team Jackie played for, in a country where his son has been working to advance racial opportunity. This would be a huge event that the whole world would have its eyes on. When looking overseas, Major League Baseball usually has 3 criteria. Lots of baseball fans in the country so they can easily fill up a stadium, high income so they can drive up the price and make some money off of it, and a large population so they can bring in lots of new fans. The series I'm suggesting here doesn't meet any of those requirements, but it would bring so much positive attention. MLB should really consider it. In Europe, they've already done the London series, and that will be repeated next year. Coming soon will be the Paris series. I don't know what their plans are beyond that. Maybe the Paris series is a one-off event. Maybe it's a cycle of 3 years London, 1 year Paris, or 1 year in another city. If they are going to try other cities for a regular season series, there are 4 possibilities. Sport Park Pioneers in the Netherlands was considered for the first MLB series in Europe, but was passed over for London. It's expandable to 30,000, which is big enough. Wouldn't be as big a crowd as seen in London, but good enough. The other possible locations would be able to hold a London-sized crowd. Barcelona Olympic Luis Companys in Spain, Berlin Olympiastadion in Germany, and Stadio Olimpica in Rome. Baseball fans can be found in all those countries, not in large numbers but not too few either. The Netherlands has a century-old professional league. In Spain, it's popular among the Caribbean immigrant community. The German league attracts crowds in the hundreds, sometimes thousands. Italy's got its own baseball culture in the northern part of the country. And no matter where they decide to hold an MLB Europe series, it's going to sell out a large stadium, because you'll have thousands of people coming in from other countries on the continent. If MLB's plan is to play exclusively in London and Paris, they need to have an exhibition series for the other countries I just mentioned. Since they'd be planning on a smaller audience of maybe 5 to 10,000, they could just play in each country's best-known ballparks. In the Netherlands, Pim Mulier Stadium. In Germany, Armin Wolf Arena. And in Italy, 10,000 capacity Stadio Steno Borghese. In Spain, there's not really a signature stadium, but they could find something suitable. And if they're doing an exhibition tour, they'd have to stop in the Czech Republic too. Just qualified for the WBC, plenty of enthusiasm in the baseball community there. One country in the Middle East could work for a Major League series, and that of course is Israel. There's certainly a lot of effort being put into promoting baseball there, Seems like only a matter of time before MLB decides to send a couple teams out there. They haven't shown much interest in playing or supporting baseball within the country, but if 2 teams of major leaguers showed up, it'd probably attract a decent-sized crowd for an exhibition series. Definitely want to get a team with some Jewish players. No Israeli-born players in MLB, never have been. But Orioles pitcher Dean Kramer is about as close as they come. Israeli citizen, speaks Hebrew in the home, lives in Israel during the off-season. And he's coming off a good season. They'd want to make sure his Orioles are one of the teams involved. Ian Kinsler would also make an appearance, a Jewish American who had a good major league career, and is now the manager for Team Israel. And now I'll skip over most of Asia. A South Asian series in India and Pakistan would be great. I'd like to see it happen someday. But right now, the lack of facilities plus a lack of people familiar with the game means it's not worth the effort right now. Get more people interested in the game and have some proper stadiums built, even little ones. And this might happen one day. China has already been tried. Just prior to the 2008 Olympics, an MLB series was played in Beijing. It'll be worth returning there if there's a sudden spike in interest, and I think that will only happen when the first Chinese player reaches the major league level, but that's not likely to happen anytime soon. One country in Asia, aside from Japan, Korea, and Taiwan, that could host a major league exhibition series is the Philippines. It's not a baseball country like some of its neighbors to the north, but it's not a completely foreign game to them either. There'd be enough excitement to make the event a success. Baseball was actually one of the biggest, if not the biggest, sport in the Philippines in the first half of the 20th century. As late as the 1950s, they were beating Japan, Korea, and Taiwan in international competition. And this wouldn't be the first time the Philippines hosted a Major League Exhibition Series, just the first one in almost 90 years. In 1934, an MLB All-Star team that included Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig played at the 10,000-seat Rizal Memorial Stadium. That venue is still around today. It's been renovated, of course. Not in the best shape, but still operable. So, a country with a fairly large population has enough people interested in baseball, has a proper stadium big enough to hold a good-sized crowd, and it's in Eastern Asia, where baseball is done so well in other countries. It would be great if they could make the trip in 2024 to celebrate the 90th anniversary of their last series in the Philippines, but it's not on the 5-year schedule. Hopefully they can do it soon after that, and not wait till the 100th anniversary. And that's it, 15 countries where MLB could play right now for an exhibition series. Let us know what you think in the comments. Anyway, that's all for this one. Until next time, this is Baseball International. See ya.